My name is Christina. Back in February 2019, I had a job working at a local 24-hour convenience store in my hometown of Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, which is roughly about an hour or so outside of New Orleans. I had just turned 19 years old, and I was saving up for my first apartment while attending a local community college. I worked the overnight shift, along with my coworker Brian. Now, Brian was an interesting character. He was about 5'7", Caucasian, extremely skinny with blonde hair and blue eyes, and what I suspected was an increasingly worsening substance dependency. After our manager would leave for the evening, Brian had a tendency to disappear inexplicably for long periods of time during our shift. He would sometimes be out in his car doing whatever, or I would often catch him in the break room in the back, appearing to nod off. Being that I was still pretty non-confrontational back throughout my teen years, I never brought this peculiar behavior up to anyone. One night he no-call no-showed, leaving me alone in the store. I was a bit creeped out due to the deafening quiet, but I managed to keep myself busy by stocking shelves and taking inventory. Around 2 a.m., a familiar face walks in. His name is Reagan, and we went to high school together just the year prior, even sharing a science class together, but I'm not happy to see him in the slightest. See, Reagan was 5'5", medium build, thinning brown hair and a white t-shirt, ripped denim jeans and combat boots. Reagan is also racist. I still have the memory burned into my brain from when he called another black girl in our class a monkey, among other racial slurs, and threw a banana peel at her before earning an out-of-school suspension. Being African American myself, I braced myself for whatever ignorance he could possibly spew. "Hello, how can I help you?" I say, trying my best not to let my disdain for him show. "Yeah, do y'all have any Black and Mild cigarettes or berry punch flavored alcohol?" "Yeah, they're right over here. Can I see your ID?" "Oh, don't you remember me? We had Miss Hardrick's class just last year." Yeah, I say as I laugh nervously, but I still have to see your ID. He fumbles around for his ID for what feels like hours before finally producing it. I quickly examine it and hand it back to him as he says, "You know, you sure are prettier than I remember. All that pretty brown skin and curly hair." "Thanks," I say, unable to hide my disgust. I quickly rang him up and gave him his total. "That'll be $5.99. You know, Valentine's Day is next week. Do you have any plans?" Reagan says boldly. Not really. I'll probably just watch a movie at home and go to sleep. I have Netflix at my place. My roommate is going out with his girlfriend, so I'll have the trailer all to myself." I'd like to, but I really just want to be by myself. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Your total is $5.99. I stop mid-sentence as he grabs the Black and Milds and throws them at me, narrowly missing my shoulder. "Fuck then, you black bitch," he says as he knocks over a row of snacks from a shelf and running out of the store with 2 cases of berry-flavored alcohol before I even have the chance to process it. Fast forward to a couple of hours later. It's about 4 a.m. I'm nearing the end of my shift, still reeling from that weird, racially motivated encounter. How could he go from awkwardly flirting with me one minute to calling me out of my name and insulting my race and making a mess in my store the next? I can't wait to get off and ask my manager for a different shift, so I never have to be in the store at that time of night again. I begin to mop the floor with my back to the door. Just then, Reagan stumbles back in. "Christina," he says with a slurred speech, which lets me know he's been drinking, and obviously driving drunk. "Why won't you go out with me?" "Reagan, please just leave," I plead with him. "No, not until you at least give me your number," he says pathetically. "If you don't leave now, I'm calling the police. Since you're drunk, I can call you a rideshare service and you can wait outside, but you need to leave the store right now." That's when his eyes filled with rage and he ripped off his shirt, revealing his swastika and white Aryan Brotherhood tattoo, which refers to a white supremacist prison gang. "Call them and I'll hang you," he says as he reaches into his pocket. I don't wait to see what he pulls out. I quickly ran to the back of the store and locked myself in the employee break room and dialed 911 from my phone.
911, what is your emergency?
Using the store's security footage, police were able to track down his car about 2 miles away and charge him with the theft of the 2 cases of alcohol, destruction of property, and racial harassment. I also learned that he already had a warrant out for his arrest on a domestic violence charge for putting his hands on his ex-girlfriend about 6 months earlier. The next day, my manager switched me to an earlier shift, and I never saw Reagan ever again. My name is Nikki. During my junior year of college, I dated a guy named John. We had been seeing each other for about 3 months and made plans to go for our first and what would ultimately become our last Valentine's Day together. The night of our date, he picked me up and we made the short 10-minute drive to the restaurant from campus. What does that smell? I asked him, confused about the strange aroma I smelled inside his red 2010 Nissan Altima. I don't smell anything. What does it smell like? I don't know. I just can't put my finger on it, but it's just weird. Babe, you're just imagining things, he says with a chuckle. About an hour later, we were midway through dinner, chatting it up and enjoying our food. I really love spending time with you. You should really meet my mom. I've told her all about you. She really wants to... He stops mid-sentence and locks eyes with someone behind me. What? I say as I turn around and see 2 cops looking in John's direction before a waiter brings them over to a table a few feet from us. Don't look at them, he says aggressively. What's wrong? They're just coming here to eat like anyone else. Nothing. I just don't like cops. Another 30 seconds goes by as we sat in silence. Are you ready to go? He says nervously. John, they just brought us our food 30 minutes ago. I'm not even halfway fit. Ma'am, can you bring us 2 to-go plates along with our check? We're in a hurry. Sure thing, darling, she says in her cheerful southern accent. Minutes later, we're back in the car and he's taking me back to my dorm. What's with you? You've been acting strange ever since you saw those 2 officers. Nothing, he mutters quickly. I just didn't like how they looked at me. Do you think that cop car is following us? I don't think he was there before, he says as he increases his speed. John, you're being paranoid. Please slow down. Look, I just have to lose them, okay? He drove erratically the rest of the way back to my dorm. After he dropped me off, I texted him and told him to get some rest and we could talk the next day. He never responded. The following morning, I tried to call and he didn't answer. 2 days went by and I didn't hear one peep from him. It wasn't like him to ignore me and I was worried about him until I flipped on the news and saw his mugshot along with the following news story. The suspect is this man, Jonathan Evergreen. Police pulled over Evergreen for reckless driving, and when they searched his car, they found 4 kilos of cocaine and several bags of heroin. He faces decades of prison time if convicted. I suddenly realized what that strange smell was in his car the night of Valentine's Day. I was also very thankful that I wasn't in the car with him when he was pulled over. Needless to say, we never spoke again.